Me, I need good. I got a mic. Philip, that was amazing. Just amazing. Thank you for inspiring us this morning. Excuse me. I'm Reverend Deb Stovall, and I'm here to introduce Reverend Barb White. Barb White was ordained as a religious science minister in 1999, which is now called the Center for Spiritual Living. She was the senior minister of CSL. Allergies, sorry y'all. She was the senior minister of CSL in Downey, California, and later senior minister at CSL in Bakersfield, California. Reverend White has been a frequent contributor to the Science of Mind magazine and was a feature contributor to the book New Thought, A Practical Spirituality. She is the author of Imagine the Possibilities, an inspirational guide to daily living. In 2002, Reverend White was inducted into the Martin Luther King Board of Preachers, Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Upon returning to Dallas in 2016, Reverend White has spoken at Unity of Dallas as well as Unity on Greenville and has taught numerous Seekers classes at Unity of Dallas. Let's welcome Reverend Barb White.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Reverend Deb for that lovely introduction. And Philip, after your song, I think we just should go home. Don't you agree? That was it. That was so inspirational. And all of you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. It is joyful to be here. I love Unity. And there are so many people that I would really like to thank, but I can't thank everybody, but a few I do want to say. Billy Jones, my wisdom teacher. Whenever there's a problem, I'm on the phone to Billy. So I thank you. Bo and Stephen, you're a constant inspiration to me. All I have to do is look at you, and something inside of me just comes alive. And Anne, oh my goodness, all that you do in this church. Tina, with your love, she just spreads love wherever she goes. Rick and Sharon, you're always an inspiration to me too. Thank you for being here. Fred, Monica, there's so many, and a special thanks for my dear friend Alexis Rice, who lives in Grapevine, called me at 8:45 this morning. She said, I think I'll drive out and support you. So thank you so very much. Where are you, Alexis? Back row. Oh, she's hiding. Okay. Well, thank you. And for all of my friends here, I want to thank you. So God is good all the time, right? No matter what. So I like to start with a little joke, and I heard a cute one this morning. A gentleman was taking a flight, and he sat next to a beautiful woman. He was single and no ring on her finger. So he said, well, tell me, what kind of men do you like? And she thought for a moment, and she said, well, I love Native American men with their beautiful skin and their high cheekbones. She said, but I also love Jewish men because they are smart, they're brilliant, and they're successful. She said, but come to think of it, I also like Southern men with their longish hair and their wonderful drawl, very sexy. She said, what is your name? And he said, Geronimo Bernstein, but my friends call me Bubba. Well, for those who are new here today, you're in for a treat. I hope you enjoy the service. These are wonderful people, and I hope you'll come back, and I hope you'll have coffee with us afterwards. Did I mention Reverend Deb, how important she is too? If I didn't, I'm so sorry. So thank you, Reverend Deb. All right. So the title today of our talk is To Stay Inspired. We come into this faith, this philosophy, this way of life. This is what we call practical Christianity. When I was little, I was raised, I'll just say, I was raised in the Catholic Church. I went through years of Catholic schooling, which was wonderful. And we went, no matter what, we went to church. And at times my dad would leave and he'd say, you know, I've got a really difficult week ahead at work. But he said, I didn't hear one thing that could help me get through my week. And I thought, I heard him say that many times. And I thought, that is so true. We hear a sermon, and these priests were beautiful speakers, but what could I take home from it? So we come into something called unity. That was 1889 with Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, that developed a deep and abiding faith. Myrtle knew the power of prayer because through her prayer, she healed tuberculosis, which was a death sentence in those days, right? Charles had a shattered hip. You all know the story. And his leg was 2 or 3 inches shorter. That ended up healing. And so we can think to ourselves, well, that was then, and miracles really don't take place now. But miracles take place every single day. I'm a living example of it, and I'm sure each one of us have a story we could tell about a miracle. It may not be that our leg grew, it may not be, but it may be a child that was having so much trouble that we almost gave up on. And yet, through the power of prayer, through the power of this faith, through the power, I don't know if you are new, we have something called unity prayer. We can call for a prayer immediately. We can text them to have the support to get us through. And miracles can be subtle. All of a sudden, the child changes. All of a sudden, what I thought was a cancer, they can't find it anymore. Joe Dispenza, who many of you know, who's a marvelous teacher, author, he was in a triathlon, and he was in the bicycle part. He had finished the swimming part, and a car turned the wrong way and hit the back of his bike, and I believe he had 6 or 7 major compressions of the spine. And they said there's no way he'd ever walk again. And they wanted to put in 2 12-inch rods on either side of his spine. But even that, they said he would walk with a walker or a wheelchair, whatever. But he had a different idea. He knew that God was more than this. How big is your God? How big is your problem? And he made a decision to go with how big is my God? So he was at UCLA in California, and he switched doctors. He didn't like what one orthopedic doctor was saying, and he brought in somebody else, a well-reputed orthopedic surgeon, but who also believed in holistic healing. And between the two of them, Joe Dispenza walks today. He travels all over the world. Billy just came back from a seminar he gave with all the energy and the verve, the inspiration, what Charles Fillmore called, what did he call it? He called it zeal. Do you know? He was 94 when he said his life was full of zeal. Now, how do we do that? How do we stay inspired in a world that really doesn't give us a lot to be inspired of sometimes, does it? And especially if you turn on the news, then it's just downhill from there. So how do we stay inspired, no matter what? Well, number one of the philosophies of what the tenets of unity is, that there is one life, and that life is the life of God. And that life is my life, and that life is your life. And in that life lies all possibilities. So we have this wonderful life that says, the life of God is my life. Now, how can I use that? Life isn't always easy. How do I really stay inspired, even though I know this power and this presence is my very life? How do I tap into that? Well, I don't know why it came to me last night when I was meditating, but you all know Harry Potter? Everybody knows Harry Potter. So when Harry Potter was called to go to the Hogwarts school, and he was in the London train station, and he was told to go to platform 9 3/4, right? There was no such thing. And he looked, and he looked, and he looked, and I've forgotten the whole thing, but whether the owl was there, somebody said, you have to walk through the stone wall. And he did. And on the other side of that wall was miracles, was inspiration, was a deepened faith of what's possible. And that's our invitation every single day. We get up in the morning, oh, another day, blah, blah, barely get out of bed. And our choice is, do we have the faith? Do we get up and say, what we sing often here, we didn't today, use me, O God, I stand for you. I stand for you today, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. That's going to walk through platform 9 3/4, isn't it? So that no matter what happens to us today, no matter what life brings, we are in a different arena where synchronicities take place. Now, some will say, oh, you know, that's just life. You know, that kind of thing happens. We know differently. Synchronicities is God's way of remaining anonymous. And when we start our day with use me, O God, Alexis Rice, my dear friend back there, years ago said to me, how to start the day is, I'm going to pull a complete blank and I say it all the time, show me, it'll come to me in a minute. Alexis, what do we say? Yes, lead me where you need me, and I will follow. Thank you. Lead me where you need me, and I will follow. What a way to get up. You know, we can get up in 2 ways. Oh my God, it's Monday, I can't believe it. And there's rain coming this week, and I don't like the meeting. Or we can get up and say, I'm here for God. Now, what is God? I mean, but God, we know God through its qualities. God is wisdom. God is peace. God is joy. All the 12 powers. God is zeal. God is grace. God is all these wonderful things. So when I say I'm here for God, is it some Santa Claus in the sky that I'm hoping will not mark me good or bad that day, right? And there are people that believe that. But we here in Unity have the opportunity to believe, yes, there is this life that is good, and how I express that life is through being generous and lovely and kind and good and anchor peace wherever I go. And you know, people don't always understand why they want to be with us or what's different about her. I just like to be around her or him or whoever. But what they're seeing is the face of God through us. That's our assignment, to express the face of God through all that we meet and see, through our kindness, through our love, through anchoring peace in the middle of conflict, of knowing the truth, of standing in integrity, even though the easy thing is not to. We have an enormous assignment. You know, life is like this magnificent quilt, and each one of us have a part in that quilt, each one of us, during our lifetime. Now, if we do not decide to allow our light to so shine that all who see us see the face of God, that light doesn't shine. So our part of the quilt is dark. And the world needs us and that light more than it's ever needed before. And what one man can do, what one woman can do, what one child can do, through allowing God to flow through us in all of its mighty majesty, in all of its grace, in all of its knowing, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that life is good, that God is good all the time, no matter what. And it's so easy to do. I have a story about my grandson. This is not a political story, because I've got a family that is completely divided. One half is one way, one another, and then we've got a few independents. So this is not political. But this particular grandson, he loves President Biden. He has worked for President Biden. He just thinks he's the best president ever, his philosophy. And he is working right now, they're remodeling the Century City Hotel in California, in LA. Some of you may have even stayed there. So when President Biden was coming, the Secret Service men were all there. They were there for 10 days before he ever arrived. And my grandson looks very young. He has 4 degrees from USC. He's really a smart kid. And he is the project manager. So when the Secret Service came in, they asked who was in charge. And he said, I am. And he said, one of them laughed. He said, you can't be, you're a kid. And he said, it went on from there. He said, Nana, I was so disappointed. I know what I'm doing there. He said, they disregarded everything I had to say. He said, they treated me like I was 10 years old. And he said, I'm in charge of the project. Now, that has nothing to do with President Biden. That has nothing to do. But these men, and who this young man was waiting for, what did they do? Did their light shine? They could have been so kind and so loving by just saying, boy, you're young for this job. You know, we'll work with you. And I only say that because that can be your story and my story too. Instead of being kind and allowing the goodness that God is. And if God is good, life is good. Doesn't matter what's going on in the outside world. If God is good, life is good. Is this world always what we'd like it to see? No, because it is filled with people, places, and things. But God's universe, this magnificent universe, which contains all miracles, all life, all goodness, all beauty, that's God's universe. That's where we want to live. We want to live in that. We want to walk through platform 9 3/4 every single day. That's how we say inspired. And when we're inspired, I've watched it. I've watched in offices where I've had practitioners or students who would say to me, I've got the worst people around me, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, you be the goodness. You be the light of God. You be as kind and sweet and loving. And you know what happened? What happened? And I watched it again and again. Either the person would quit or be promoted, or they would change totally. Because this universe not only hears every word, this is an intelligent universe. You know, God is what? The infinite intelligence that governs this universe. Every word, every thought that we put energy to is heard. What thoughts will we think this week? How can we uplift those that are with us? We might say, well, I'm not the president, I don't, or whatever. Our universe, the universe that we are here to serve, are those in our family and in our friends and our co-workers. That is our universe, those that come into our particular circle. And that's where we get to be the light. And that light that lights up every man and woman in the world, that's what we get to be. And it may not be for millions, it may be. Some of you may go on and win a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know. But for now, the people that are closest to us, that's our work. How kind can we be? How encouraging can we be? How inspiring can we be? By our actions. We are on a very special assignment here. There are no accidents. I truly believe that we are here by divine appointment. And if we get up in the morning and we are use me, O God, I stand for you, whatever the words are, our divine appointment that day is kept. We have kept the appointment that we were here, designated to keep and to be. So isn't it wonderful to be in a faith that says this is practical Christianity? Yes, we read the teachings of Jesus. Do we think that Jesus is the only Son of God? No, you are the Son of God. I am the Son of God. Jesus said, we are all, you are my brothers. He was very clear. He said, you are my sisters. So we all are in this soup, so to speak, together to uplift and to inspire. It's a good life as much as we let it be, right? And what is really important? You know, some people say, well, I've got all this money to leave my kids. Of course, the kids haven't spoken to them in 20 years. Really? So the point of that is, it's not the money we leave or the Chippendale or whatever it is. It's the memories we leave, the qualities we leave. Will they remember, oh, Nana was so kind to me. Oh, Granddad used to take me here or there when I was in the depths of despair because my engagement was just broken. It was my mom and my dad, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles that came and surrounded me and implanted through their love, inspired me, lifted me, right when I thought the end was near. We have a mighty task, each and every one of us. We are in the most marvelous place at the most marvelous time. So if we can stay inspired, not by saying, oh yeah, you know, I'm a doctor. Oh, and I'm not putting that down, forgive me. When I have, good Lord, my doctor will fire me if he's here. But when it's called a calling card consciousness. When you introduce yourself to somebody, you know, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a grandma, I'm a teacher, whatever it is. But who we are and who we work for is the universe. And that is that, period. We think we're going to an office to do one thing, we do it. But it's not for that boss we're doing it. We are doing it for the universe because it is a divine appointment. If you're there, it is because you are meant to be there. It is there because you are to be the light of the world, period. You are to be within that group, the inspiration, the upliftment, the showing of the presence of God, even though they could never, or most of them would never get it, but within that office. That's what we're to anchor. So when you get up in the morning and say, oh, I've got patients to see, I've got clients, and blah, blah, blah. I am going to be here today to be the best I can. I am going to show up to life. I am going to be an inspiration to everybody I meet and see, even if there has to be some conflict there. I am going to remember I work for the universe. What is the highest good that I can do, I can say, I can be today? What do you think of that? Agree? Yes. And oh, how I have to remember that every day. You know, because years ago, I was at a retreat, and what the priest said, I was up in Montecito, California at some retreat, and he said something that has helped me a lot. He said, you know, some days we get up and we get out of bed and we're just raring to go. We know we've got a divine appointment, but our health, we just feel terrible. We barely get out of bed. So he said, on those days, the 50% that you have, give 100% of that 50%. Does that make sense? Give 100% of your 50% without ever beating yourself up. Today, I did the best I could. I showed up for life itself, and life with a capital L. And this is a reciprocal universe, the third law of physics, because Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, he was so brilliant. He loved science. And the information that he got came from a higher source. And that's often what happens to me. Do you ever when I make up my mind that I am here for God today, that I am here for life itself, I am here for good, things come out of my mouth that I didn't even know I knew. I can be on the phone call with someone, one of my children, that I'm sure I've said something, and they are sure I've said something. And by the time we get off the phone, they say, Mom, you said just the right thing. Well, I never said it. But because I have opened myself to allowing God to be my God, my life, goodness, we can exchange all these words for God, wisdom, whatever, starts to flow through us. We are given the words. Stephen's poetry, he opens up and these beautiful words come out of his mouth. I read them, I know that. Stephen, Bo with his acting, we have so many people here that know that all of a sudden, when we are here for God, miracles happen. Now, we may not multiply the loaves and fishes, but we may know exactly what to say without ever saying it. We may know exactly what to do. I have given talks, and people will say afterwards, gee, I loved what you said. Well, I didn't even know about what I said. I didn't have the information, but something worked through me. And I know each of you have had that experience. I don't know if Debbie Thomas is here or not, but what a marvelous job she is doing as your president of the board. She is opening herself up to allow God to work through her to continue the beautiful work of this church. So we can stay inspired as much as we want, but remember who you are and remember what you're here for. And that is not just to have a ho-hum day. That is here to be an inspiration, to allow God in all of its goodness and wisdom and peace and grace and joy to flow through us. And when I started to talk about the third law of physics and I got distracted. So give me 1 second on that. There is the third law of physics. So this is not mamby-pamby stuff. What we put out there, we get back. And it always works because the law works. So what I'm going to put out today, I'm going to get back. What you put out, you're going to get back. So why not put out our best? Why not shine and ever shine to let the light of God shine through us? So what we're getting back is this high vibrational living. And the higher our vibration goes by being the presence of God in action, the more good comes into our lives. Unbelievable amount of good. Perhaps it's money, perhaps it's not money, but perhaps it's in good friends. There's so many ways the universe rewards us, but as we put out, we get back. The third law of physics. So we want to stay inspired. One other thing, I've got to watch my time or I won't be asked back. So what if it's much too, just another few minutes, what if it's too much for me? You just don't understand. I can't do all that. I'm lucky to get out, wash my face, skip a shower if I have to and get to work. I can't do all that. Well, let me just tell you a quick story about Moses. In Exodus, Moses was a shepherd, and people that have studied him greatly knew he was a stutterer. So he had a problem with his speech. And God appears to Moses and said, Moses, I want you to go to the Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go. Well, by that time, Moses is saying, God, I can't even talk. I'm a shepherd. And what God responded to him was, Moses, I will do it through you. I will do it through you. So when we are frightened, we are facing something, whatever it may be, how do we stay inspired? We can remember those words that God has said. I will do it through you. And in that purview, we can uplift and we can be re-inspired again. One other thing, what happens, how do we stay inspired when we're hit by a 2x4? Anybody know about 2x4s over the head? How do you handle, let me just ask you real quickly for a few, how do you handle to keep yourself inspired when whatever happens, a sickness, a divorce, a love, a lost love? How do you stay inspired? Can anybody just give me a word of what you do?
I keep a smile on my face.
All right, you keep a smile on your face. And there's something that a smile does that lifts us, isn't it? Okay, what else? Count your blessings. Yes, Tina.
Good comes from everything. That's what I know.
Good comes from everything. Yes. Beautiful. Anybody else?
Keep saying, trust God, trust God, trust God.
Did you all hear that? Keep saying, trust God, trust God, trust God. So, pardon? Thank God for the lessons, yes. And we remember the promise. I am your God. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I am with you always. And from that purview, we can stay inspired. God bless you. What a joy it is to be with you. So we're going to do just a quick meditation, and then they will rush me off the stage.
Go ahead.
I will run, I promise. All right, let's just take a deep breath now. And I want you just to picture yourself by a bubbling brook. And we're going to take a little liberty now with the story. But we're going to picture a little shepherd boy come to talk to us. And his name is David. And here's what he has to say. Just let all your thoughts go and be in the prayer. He said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Take a deep breath. What magnificent promises are given to us.